Hey, what's up, everyone? Hope you guys having a great day today. You're watching On Air with Nick Driver Podcast. Today's video, we're going to be looking at Antarctica is shut down by the U.S. after drone captures what no one was supposed to see. Let's get into the video.
Trillion-ton iceberg, which we're just hearing has broken off Antarctica.
Sudden burst of solar activity, which melted down those ice sheets, but that's not what I go with.
"38 people disappeared overnight while headed from Chile to Antarctica."
Locked in away ice, Antarctica guards mysteries that might just rewrite the story of our past and shake up everything we thought we knew. A former naval officer and a journalist have shared shocking stories on how they discovered an entrance to a secret alien base containing UFOs in Antarctica. How did this naval flight engineer Brian discover this secret alien base? How is the world power trying to hide it from the entire planet? Join us on this intriguing journey as we explore the terrifying truths of the U.S. terrifying claim that aliens are hiding in Antarctica. The naval...
If you think about it, like if people do believe in aliens, I mean, that would be a great place for them to hide. You know, I mean, regardless of what you think, Antarctica or the ocean would be a great place for them to hide if they had the technology to do it.
Officer's revelation. In January 2015, investigative reporter Linda Moulton Howe stumbled upon a mysterious Antarctic tale when she
I've seen her on Ancient Aliens sometimes with Giorgio, I believe.
Got an email from Brian, a retired U.S. naval flight engineer with a wild story from his time in Antarctica in the 80s and 90s. Brian dropped a bombshell, claiming he saw some seriously strange stuff during his 4,000 flight hours over Antarctica.
Naval flight engineer. He's asked me to call him only Brian.
The juiciest part of the story is that he stumbled upon a massive, perfect circle carved into the Antarctic ice sheet, leading to a glowing cave entrance below. But here's where it gets even weirder. When Brian tried to get closer, all the gadgets in his aircraft went haywire, and they had to do an emergency restart. After that encounter, shady authorities confiscated records and gave Brian and his crew the silent treatment. Intrigued by the craziness of Brian's story, Linda dug deeper.
Something archaeological in Antarctica.
Brian later spilled the beans on what went down. In 1987, during a resupply flight out of McMurdo Station, Brian and his crew got last-minute orders to pick up something from a remote campsite in Antarctica's interior. When they arrived, they found the camp trashed and deserted, with no sign of human activity anywhere. This creepy scenario kicked off a string of disappearances at Antarctic stations. Odd radio bursts and strange languages popped up before each disappearance, coming from some unknown source deep under the ice. As the crew got jittery, Brian's co-pilot spotted a big shiny craft silently cruising past their cockpit. It was like something out of a sci-fi movie. A white, smooth-surfaced, lozenge-shaped vessel over 100 feet in diameter. Brian did what he was supposed to do and reported it when they got back. Here's where things get dicey. Men in black suits showed up at McMurdo, accompanied by big-shot naval commanders.
Of course they did. I knew that was... Anybody that's into this type of stuff, we know the men in black are coming after you have something like that happen. So
commanders. They ordered Brian to retract his report about the weird aircraft, but he refused, facing threats of serious consequences. Weeks later, while checking out a remote area, Brian picked up a faint distress signal from inside an ice shelf. He traced it to a bizarre circular hole in the ice, glowing mysteriously. But as they circled to check it out, their plane went dark, all systems shut down. It was freaky, but luckily, they got backup power and made it out okay. Back at McMurdo, Brian sent a coded alert about the strange ice hole, but surprisingly, a bunch of classified convoys headed there. Brian then found himself grilled by a panel of suited folks from DARPA, who warned him to keep his mouth shut about the weird sightings in Antarctica. As if that wasn't enough, Brian connected the dots to unsolved cases of missing scientists and abandoned research outposts in Antarctica over the years. It's like a frozen X-Files down there. Haunted by a sense of responsibility, Brian carried immense guilt for keeping quiet about the unsettling incidents in Antarctica, knowing his fellow servicemen faced threats for speaking out.
That would be very hard to keep quiet, you know, if you saw something like, and you're not supposed to talk to anybody about it. I imagine, you know, it's very traumatizing to witness something like that, and probably most people that hear you talk about it would think you're like a lunatic or something, but imagine seeing something like that and then having to keep quiet about it.
Luckily, he found an ally in Linda Howe, a dedicated investigator eager to bring suppressed accounts to light and expose the truth behind a potential Antarctic cover-up. Over several years, Linda conducted thorough investigations, gathering testimonies from military witnesses supporting Brian's claims. They spoke of advanced airships near Antarctica, strange IC radio transmissions, and USO, popularly referred to as unidentified submerged objects, moving at mind-boggling speeds in the Southern Ocean. Classified satellite imagery revealed temporary domed installations in Antarctica, mysteriously destroyed to hide covert activities. Linda also uncovered the obituaries of numerous researchers who specialized in Antarctic studies and died prematurely after incidents on the ice. Further digging exposed decades of secretive expeditions led by powerful military and scientific entities to Antarctic locations, raising questions about their true objectives. Despite Antarctica being a scientific preserve, geopolitical tensions have risen due to overlapping territorial claims, sparking fears of resource exploitation and nuclear deployment. Today, Linda faces challenges from mysterious security agencies as she digs deeper into Antarctica's escalating secrecy and security.
It's a pretty crazy video to think about, and to think about an entire continent down there, it's really a wild, wild west. I mean, people could be doing anything there. There's probably so many things down there that we have no idea, no idea about.
However, mainstream support for her investigations is growing. The fate of life on our planet depends on transparency about Antarctica's future, a transparency consistently denied by those in power. At this crucial juncture, we must stand with truth seekers like Linda and confront reality with an open but critical mind. As revelations about Antarctica's secrets emerge, our focus should be on seeking wisdom rather than succumbing to fear. It's time to prioritize facts over suppression or denial, even if it means grappling with unsettling truths that may reshape human history as we understand it. Brian's extraterrestrial Antarctic encounters. Brian's time flying over Antarctica turned into a wild sci-fi adventure against the icy beauty of the continent. Researchers disappeared, got scared, and wouldn't spill the beans, adding a spooky vibe to Brian's story. But the real head-scratcher is that Brian kept seeing shiny silver things doing crazy moves in the bright Antarctic skies, defying all known science. On one flight over the Queen Maud mountain range, Brian and his crew saw shiny silver discs, perfectly round, pop up one after the other from behind an icy peak. Floating towards Mount Fridtjof in a neat line, they were about 30 to 40 yards wide, and their smooth surfaces didn't shine, making them look solid against the blue sky. And get this, they moved like nothing we humans could make. Synchronized spins, crazy speed-ups, and mid-air rotations with no wings or jets.
I mean, this seems like to be an ongoing issue. I mean, the Pentagon released a bunch of documents over the last few years. It shows these same types of UAPs or UFOs. I think they're called UAPs now, unidentified aerial phenomena, and they're acting the same way, so it's interesting.
After 15 minutes of this weird movement, the discs zipped behind Mount Fridtjof, leaving Brian and his crew totally stunned. They couldn't believe what they just saw in Antarctica's skies. The tech on display that day hinted at way smarter beings working over Earth's southern pole than we thought possible. But here's the real head-scratcher in Brian's tale. The discovery of a massive hole in the Antarctic ice leading to a glowing cave below. The hole was smoother than any modern drill could make, with a cool blue glow. As if that wasn't enough, all their gear went haywire when they got close, such as radar, navigation, controls, you name it. Everything was okay anywhere else, but within a kilometer of that weird ice cave, it became total chaos. Brian filed a report about it all, detailing electromagnetic craziness and spotting 3 fast-moving objects shooting out of the cave at super speeds. But guess what? The report got snatched away by some unknown dudes who wanted everyone to keep quiet. This whole thing messed with Brian's head. It reminded him of old stories about mysterious spaces under Antarctica's surface from Admiral Byrd's secret naval expedition in 1947. Brian even risked solo flights over the anomaly, where wild electrical stuff messed with his gear. On his last flight, before they banned him from the zone, Brian saw a silver disc chilling inside the ice cave. Then, boom, the disc shot up, blasted a crazy light, and fried all of Brian's gear. After Brian and his plane finally got back on track 20 minutes later, they discovered they had landed 13 kilometers away from the strange cave. Brian couldn't recall how the plane moved during the blackout. Despite attempts to return to the coordinates, constant bad weather and a strict no-fly zone meant he never laid eyes on the Antarctic cave entrance again.
The government always wants to step in and just stop someone. People wouldn't think everything's so crazy if the government didn't always try to lie to people. And these people, I'm not talking about the everyday government person. I'm talking about the upper echelon levels of them. And you know, I just don't, it just makes people want to know more about it. We know from history, the Project Blue Book, the government had a legitimate 2 guys that were put on cases to actually try to figure out what was going on with the UFO phenomena and you know, everything with that. So
in the years that followed, Brian quietly connected with other pilots who confirmed seeing silver discs near Antarctic bases. A colleague stationed near Euler Peak even shared proof of unidentified submerged object activity in the Weddell Sea, with metallic pods surfacing and diving without a splash.
wow.
Another friend got hold of satellite thermal printouts showing heat signatures under Wilkes Land, hinting at temporary habitation bubbles or facilities. Comparing notes painted a picture of covert activities beneath miles of Antarctic ice, possibly linked to the silver aircraft Brian witnessed performing crazy moves over the glaciers. Today, the memories of those bizarre experiences still haunt Brian at night.
Imagine.
The truth, whether frightening or amazing, weighs on him. But Brian isn't alone. There's a growing group of veterans in the know about Antarctica's mysteries, eager for disclosure. With space agencies planning bases over Earth's southern pole, our civilization might have to face the unsettling reality of what or who already lives in Antarctica's deepest corners. Brian's story is the key to unlocking Antarctica's ultimate secret. It challenges our ideas about human history and raises questions about our place on a remarkably intelligent planet. Even if some revelations are tough, wisdom tells us to embrace the truth in the collective light of understanding, rather than let it linger in the darkness of ignorance and denial. Confronting reality with an open yet discerning mind is our best way forward in evolution. Parallel accounts in history. Brian's mind-blowing stories about his Antarctic adventures strangely echoed similar tales from decades ago by the celebrated American polar explorer Admiral Richard Byrd. Byrd's reputation soared.
Now I've heard about Admiral Byrd, and this is a pretty crazy story. So I do know who this particular person is.
After leading groundbreaking air expeditions over the North and South Poles in 1926 and 1929, making him a national hero. However, it was Byrd's 1947 claim of stumbling upon a massive entrance to a hidden underground world during an Antarctic expedition that truly stunned the post-war public. According to his story, Byrd descended for miles over ice-free lands teeming with mountains, forests, vegetation, and even gigantic animals. He was, however, ordered to turn back by threatening disc-shaped aircraft. When Byrd returned to the U.S., his incredible account was quickly suppressed under mysterious pressure from authorities.
Of course it was.
In the future, I can see a time when it will be very, very important strategically.
Similar to Brian's experience, Admiral Byrd faced a swift campaign to confiscate records and silence all expedition survivors about any unusual Antarctic sightings. Byrd's fame and credibility made it tough to discredit his strange testimony. The orchestrators of the Antarctic cover-up realized that their usual tactics of ridicule and denial wouldn't work against such a respected national figure.
Right.
Byrd underwent documented interrogation under U.S. Navy psychiatric observation before abruptly retracting his story weeks later.
You know, they do this a lot to people. They try to make them retract their stories. They're clearly getting to them and threatening them. You know, why would he say this stuff and have all these stories that make a lot of sense, even when it comes to today's stories that people have? I don't like it when people just automatically don't believe people just because they haven't experienced something. I always listen to everybody because, I mean, anything's possible, man. Anything is possible.
Expedition members, once vocal about Antarctica, suddenly refused to comment, and Byrd withdrew from public life for the rest of his days. The government's message was crystal clear. Reputations and lives were on the line for anyone daring to breach imposed confidentiality. Suppressing Byrd's account only fueled greater suspicion about what terrifying truth officials were working so hard to hide. While authorities dismissed Byrd's admissions as polar delirium, millions remained unconvinced,
Polar
especially given
delirium.
the Stonewall denials against an admired pioneer adventurer. If Antarctica concealed anything resembling Byrd's descriptions of a lush inner world with advanced disk crafts and mammoth-sized creatures, the implications for science, history, and society were staggering. Speculation initially focused on perceived national security interests, geostrategic competition for Antarctic resources with rival superpowers, and the desire to maintain a public perspective of normalcy. The U.S. Navy likely feared Soviet weaponization of a hidden Antarctic domain against America's Pacific vulnerability. Scientific institutions dreaded revelations about the mining existence of field theory physics and advanced medicine for a century. The political elite wished to avoid social instability by disclosing that existing maps of Earth's geology were disturbingly incomplete.
I think that's kind of funny that the narrator just said the political elite worry about instability, political instability, or societal instability. We're completely unstable right now in America. There's so much division, so much craziness going on right now. It's insane.
The immense secrecy imposed by several leading governments following Byrd's suppressed account suggested interests far beyond conventional, nationalistic, scientific, or ideological goals. Byrd's testimony hinted that Antarctica concealed secrets, challenging the entirety of human knowledge and origins. Declassified FBI documents confirmed federal surveillance on every member of Byrd's 1947 expedition until their passing, showing a security threat tied specifically to their personal experiences, rather than just geopolitical security coincident with the Cold War era. Clearly, authorities understood that the implications of Byrd's admissions surpassed ordinary spatial territoriality or technological advances. By timing the public release of his extraordinary Antarctic revelations while still stationed on the frozen continent, Admiral Byrd likely aimed to establish dominance over the narrative against suppression efforts by authorities. This strategy initially succeeded, as American press circulated incredulous headlines about the famous polar explorer discovering a lost temperate world filled with advanced life beyond Earth's known South Pole borders. The illusion, however, shattered when Byrd was forced to retract his statements under confidentiality a few weeks later. This allowed the government's counteroffensive to tarnish his name, and Antarctica faded from public interest for decades until new retired military eyewitnesses like Brian emerged. Yet, the cracks in the enforced Antarctic secrecy slowly widened. Brian's incredible testimony of encountering strange silver disks and a glowing ice cavern deep beneath the Antarctic surface once again echoed Admiral Byrd's description of vast, hollowed interior domains filled with peculiar crafts. The consistent eyewitness accounts spanning decades, now linked by Linda's investigations, built a bridge of credibility that authorities have tirelessly tried to demolish since the 1940s through media manipulation and intimidation tactics. In contrast to Byrd's era, where centralized mass media control and unchecked technocratic elite authority prevailed, today's internet-powered paradigm shift toward data democratization has made the suppression of the Antarctic enigma impossible. A global movement erupted on social media around the hashtag Antarctica Truth campaign, spearheaded by Linda's research, challenging previous taboos surrounding the icy continent's concealed secrets. These secrets were deemed implausible for establishment circles to acknowledge, yet too consistent over successive generations of observers to dismiss. All this time, Antarctica's opacity hid in plain sight, reflected in world maps conspicuously framing its vague outlines, but leaving the interior shrouded in an information void. While scientists humorously discuss fully mapping distant planetary bodies like Mars, they acknowledge their ignorance about the vast Antarctic interface conditions that separate Earth's crust from its churning outer core underneath the ice sheet. As one recent scientific study concluded, it seems improbable that Amundsen and Scott could have raced to the South Pole across hundreds of miles of unexplored mountain ranges whose existence never factored into their travel plans. In simpler terms, whether due to nuclear activity altering the Antarctic climate or the cycles of civilizations rising and falling, advanced species might have called Antarctica home eons before mankind. Linda's investigations repeatedly encountered.
Yeah, you think about it, it makes me wonder too if the U.S. and different countries, I wonder if there's some kind of documents or some kind of information out there where maybe they also have, these governments maybe have set off some sort of nuclear bomb testing as well. I don't know, I'm just looking at this and thinking about it. What's you guys' thoughts?
A coordinated campaign to keep the curtain lowered over Antarctica's transcendent secrets, passing hands from military agencies to archaeological establishments and connecting power centers across continents through the decades. However, as exiled scientists and defecting private contractors consolidated testimonies for public release, the enforced ignorance over humanity's southernmost frontier approached a reckoning. What emerged next held promise for uniting global society or fracturing mankind irreparably based on collective reactions to truths that chilled to the bone. Brian and Linda Howe's work played a crucial role in prying open access to Antarctica's deepest enigmas, revelations that soon held promise to irrevocably alter society's understanding of itself across every core discipline and institutionalized field of knowledge. As the ice slowly recedes, so will structure secrecy over our planet's final frontier. But intellectual courage and discretion must guide public interpretation towards revelation over retreat or denial. The opportunity glitters before humanity to elevate its collective maturity through wisdom, rather than cower behind barricades of instability from newly exposed realities. Confronting the full Antarctic truth with eyes wide open holds seeds for unleashing elevation or destruction upon ourselves.
This video is very well put together, and just looking at the landscape of Antarctica, just a side note outside of what this gentleman is talking about, really a beautiful, beautiful landscape out there. And
we stand advised to choose our next steps carefully. Antarctica, the coldest, driest, and windiest continent on the planet. Antarctica, the massive icy wonderland at the end of the Earth, has always been a bit of a mystery to us humans. It is a colossal chunk of ice, that's about 32.5 million square miles big, making it the coldest, driest, and windiest place on the planet. Now, you might think with all that icy real estate, Antarctica would be bustling with people, right?
No.
Well, not quite. It's home to less than 10,000 brave souls, mostly scientists and researchers, who face the wild
Yeah, I wouldn't think there'd be too many people that live there.
weather to uncover the secrets hidden in its frosty embrace. And let me tell you, it gets seriously cold down there, like a mind-boggling minus 56.2 degrees Fahrenheit.
Jeez.
With the coldest days hitting a bone-chilling minus 128.2 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh,
That's colder than your ex's heart on Valentine's Day. The winds in Antarctica are like something out of
this dude's
world,
got jokes.
blasting at speeds faster than a cheetah can run.
That's
186 miles per hour to be exact.
Jeez, 186.
Add in relentless snowstorms that can stick around for weeks, and you've got yourself an environment that's tough as nails. Beneath all that ice, Antarctica holds secrets that mess with our history books. Way back in the 1500s, the Perry Race map showed Antarctica way before we officially discovered it in 1820. How did those ancient map makers know about this frozen wonderland? And why were they so spot on in their drawings? It's a mystery that keeps historians and scientists scratching their heads. Even though it might sound like a desolate place, Antarctica's isolation has actually kept it squeaky clean. Thanks to the Antarctic Treaty signed in 1959, it's like a no-go zone for any major human activity. 12 nations got together and decided to use it for science. So Antarctica is like the VIP section of the Earth,
Very cool.
reserved for top-notch research on climate and atmosphere without any pollution or city noise.
That's awesome.
In a nutshell, Antarctica is like the ultimate ice kingdom, a frozen wonderland that's both crazy challenging and mind-blowingly mysterious. And it's doing a pretty good job staying pristine, thanks to some international agreements. Additionally, the extreme cold has preserved ancient meteorites and microbial life forms that provide glimpses into our solar system's
I would
distant
imagine.
past. Meteorites offer
I would imagine you'd have an entire continent there where you could find these meteorite. Well, I don't know if it'll be easy to find them because scaling over an entire continent, but that would be crazy to think about. But imagine the ice will cover them pretty fast and snow and stuff too. So, but this is a very interesting video.
precious extraterrestrial material to analyze the formation of our solar system over 4.6 billion years ago. Meanwhile, scientists have discovered microfossils and extremophiles buried deep in Antarctic ice that reveal remarkable evolutionary tales of survival and adaptation, expanding our understanding of life's tenacity. Beyond its research value, Antarctica evokes a sense of grandeur and inspiration that few places on Earth can parallel. Its glacial landscapes create sights of profound beauty, from electric blue ice caves to braided ice rivers that flow silently toward the sea. Standing in Antarctica is no ordinary experience. It is surreal and emotional, blending the continent's stunning beauty with its icy, isolated vibe.
Beautiful, man.
People have tried to capture this magic through art, photos, poems, and stories, but it's like trying to catch lightning in a bottle.
Right.
Here's the problem, though.
Largest iceberg has finally begun moving after being stuck to the ocean floor for more than 3 decades.
This magical place is at risk. Antarctica plays a crucial role in keeping our climate and weather in check. Its ice sheets are like the Earth's own water reserve, and its chilly waters are a big deal for global weather patterns. Sadly, rising temperatures are messing with Antarctica's cool, causing more surface melting and making some areas unstable. Scientists are waving red flags, warning that climate change could mess up the balance of life in Antarctica and make sea levels rise. With over 250 billion metric tons of ice disappearing each year, there's a real worry about keeping Antarctica's ecosystem safe. Plans like creating protected areas, setting fishing rules, and keeping tabs on penguins and whales aim to protect the critters teetering on the edge.
Right.
On top of all this, there's a bit of drama over who gets to claim what in Antarctica. Big countries like Russia, China, and the US are eyeing the place for its hidden treasures, minerals, and oil under all that ice.
Of course we are.
The 1959 Antarctic Treaty was supposed to keep things chill, but it's feeling the heat as countries get greedy for resources. The big question is, can we keep Antarctica's cool vibe while dealing with climate change, global politics, and human dreams of striking it rich? Some folks want to keep it wild and protected, while others are itching to cash in on its resources. It's like a cosmic tug of war between saving the planet and making a quick buck.
Wow,
Despite all the chaos, Antarctica keeps its cool. Its unique creatures have figured out how to survive crazy winters, and its ancient mountains have seen it all. There's still so much.
I've seen a lot of videos and photos of Antarctica over the years, but you know, it's really beautiful to see some of these shots that they have here.
Much we don't know about this icy wonderland. Strange geography, wild weather, and the secrets of creatures that thrive in extremes. Antarctica is like a mysterious treasure chest, and maybe hidden in its ice is the key to understanding just how tough life can be. As the legendary explorer Sir Ernest Shackleton once said, we need to dig deeper and challenge what we think we know about polar survival. Antarctica's got stories to tell, and we're just getting started. Earth's isolated continent. Antarctica isn't just a frozen chunk of land. It's a breathtaking masterpiece that showcases Earth's raw and unfiltered beauty.
Right.
This icy wonderland is like no other place, capturing imaginations and stirring awe in those lucky enough to witness its grandeur. Think about the electric blue ice caves, lit up by frozen microbes, and glaciers weaving their way to the sea in a braided design. Antarctica's visuals are like a wonderland that leaves a lasting impression on your soul. People who've stood on Antarctica's surface say it's an otherworldly experience. Despite the isolation and cold, there's an undeniable beauty in the air. Massive tabular icebergs, sculpted into abstract shapes, float along the currents. Snow petrels and Antarctic terns gracefully glide above cracks and crevasses, their ethereal dance accompanied by the wind's whisper. Through cameras, pens, and paintings, humans have tried to capture Antarctica's magic. Iconic images like Earthrise, revealing our planet as a floating oasis in space, or documentaries like March of the Penguins, showcasing the quirky charm of emperor penguins, have turned Antarctica.
I don't know if you guys ever saw that documentary, March of the Penguins, but it's a wonderful documentary. If you guys do get a chance to check it out, check it out.
Into a muse for talented creators. Works like The White Darkness and The Worst Journey in the World tell gripping tales of polar exploration, showcasing Antarctica's grandeur and its unforgiving nature during the heroic age. Nowadays, adventurers hop on Antarctic cruises to witness wildlife found nowhere else on Earth, against backdrops of ice and rock too beautiful for words. Imagine coming face to face with curious penguins, unafraid as they waddle on volcanic beaches between icy waters and towering cliffs frozen in time. And let's not forget the Southern Lights, Earth's celestial masterpiece, casting vibrant ribbons of green and violet across the night sky, creating a hypnotic, otherworldly spell. A single glimpse of Antarctica's splendor reveals a dimension of beauty and rarity at our planet's poles. As explorer Wally Herbert once said, "No place on Earth has provoked such heightened emotions as the starkly beautiful Antarctic Peninsula." Preserving Antarctica isn't just about the planet's health. It's about safeguarding a precious gem at the bottom of the world that sparks human imagination through its sheer beauty. Nature's masterpiece, indeed.
It's really interesting that we have all this information and we can go to different planets and we know all that. And we know very little about Antarctica. And I think we should probably try to keep it a reserve for scientific reasons, you know. Hope you guys have a blessed day. Take care. You guys let me know, what do you think in the comments about this video? What do you guys think about Brian? Do you think Linda should keep pushing that, keep digging and digging? You guys have a great day. You watch it On Air with Nick Driver Podcast. Take care.